Abused Child Unit, and they can call 818-374-5415 or the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department Special Victims Bureau at 877-710-5273. And if anyone wants to come forward anonymously, they can come forward by phone to the Los Angeles Regional Crime Stoppers Hotline at 800-222-8477. I'd like to now introduce Los Angeles County Sheriff Robert Luna to say some words.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman, and good afternoon to everybody. Being up here, presenting this information is never easy, but on behalf of the men and women of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, very sorry for your loss. Lo sentimos mucho de todo lo que pasó. I'm here today specifically seeking additional victims on a child sexual abuse case involving 43-year-old Mario Garcia Aquino from the Palmdale area. Garcia Aquino was a youth travel soccer coach with the Hurricane Valley Boys Soccer Club in the Sylmar area, working with different age divisions. He had no reported criminal history. In February of 2024, Garcia Aquino befriended a Sylmar family who allowed their juvenile son to stay with him at his residence in Palmdale. The family subsequently filed a criminal report with the Palmdale Sheriff's Station, alleging sexual abuse of their child. This case was assigned to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department Special Victims Bureau North Team, who is tasked with investigating both physical and sexual abuse of children, including adult felonious sexual assaults. During the investigation, and while working with the Los Angeles County District Attorney's office from the Antelope Valley Courthouse, detectives learned that there was another unrelated child sexual abuse case being handled by the Los Angeles Police Department's Foothill Division involving Garcia Aquino. On April 2nd, 2025, the new information from both the Sheriff's Department and the Police Department cases, the District Attorney's Office filed one felony count of assault with intent to commit a sexual offense on Mario Garcia Aquino. Based on the nature of the offenses, Special Victims Bureau detectives believe there may be additional victims. Anyone with information regarding this case or who believes that they may have been a victim is urged to contact the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department Special Victims Bureau at 877-710-5273, or you can contact any of your local sheriff stations. I just want to make an additional comment to that because we're really urging anybody in the public, once you see the photos of this individual, that if you may have been a victim, please come forward. I know it's not easy. I know it could be either embarrassing, you don't want to tell somebody, but it's very important that we bring justice not only to the family here to my left, but any families that may have been victimized by this. And I want to add an additional comment that if for some reason anybody fears coming forward, even as a youth or a family, because you may be here undocumented, we're not going to ask about that. Please, you need to come forward. We will assist you, whether it's our department, the Los Angeles Police Department, the LA County District Attorney's Office. Any of us are going to wrap our arms around you and make sure that you get the appropriate services, we guide you the right way, and we protect you as well. Thank you very much.
Now I'd like to call up Los Angeles Police Department Chief Jim McDonald.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, and thank you for your continued attention and coverage on this deeply tragic case. Before I begin, I want to just take a moment to acknowledge the profound loss endured by the family of Oscar Omar Hernandez. On behalf of the Los Angeles Police Department, I extend our deepest condolences. And while no words can lessen their grief, please know that we're fully committed to pursuing justice for their son. I would also like to extend my appreciation to our partners whose combined efforts led to today's charges. Thank you to the District Attorney, the FBI, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, the Ventura County Sheriff's Department, and the Ventura County Coroner for the help that they provided. I also want to particularly thank LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division and LAPD's Major Crimes Division for the time, patience, and expertise that they dedicated to this case. While we all hoped for a different outcome, their hard work has helped ensure that this dangerous individual is no longer a threat to the public. When this was a missing persons case that RHD picked up and put everything they had into it, brought in Major Crimes, and the resources with all of our partners here left no stone unturned. And so I'm thankful for the collaboration that we see here and the ability we have to be able to mobilize on a case like this that is so tragic, and to be able to get some level of closure. And as Sheriff Luna mentioned, I share the same sentiments. If anybody is a victim out there, please come forward. There are no obstacles, and we will treat it as sensitively as it needs to be treated, but justice should be served in this. So I won't go into the details of the case. That's already been talked over here, but any questions you have, I'll kick it back to the District Attorney. Thank you all.
So we will now take, myself, Sheriff Luna, and Chief McDonald will now take questions. After we're done taking questions, Maria Ramirez, where are you? Over there. For the Spanish media, Maria Ramirez will then give a brief overview of what we've been doing and then takes questions in Spanish as well.
District Attorney, before we begin, will the family say anything?
Not at this press conference.
Luz Delia Caballero with CBS KCAL. Question for Sheriff Luna or yourself. Specifically for that assault charge back in February of 2024, did it happen in February of 2024, or was it initially reported in February of 2024?
The date at which it happened, as the charges reflect, is February 22nd, 2024, and that's in Palmdale.
What can you tell us about the circumstances surrounding the arrest? Was there cooperation? Where did it happen?
The arrest, again, with respect to how the individual was arrested so quickly, in some respects, after the March 28th murder, those investigative techniques will be discussed in the appropriate court when we present the additional evidence that shows that Mr. Garcia Aquino committed this murder, as well as the additional acts of which he's
That is home, though, District Attorney. Where was he arrested? Where is he taken into custody?
I believe it, and I'll check if I might with Chief Hamilton.
Good afternoon, Alan Hamilton, Chief of Detectives, LAPD. He was taken into custody in the city of Los Angeles, and he was then subsequently transferred to the custody of the Sheriff's Department.
Was he at work, Alan?
He was not at work.
When it comes to talking about additional victims, do those additional victims include perhaps missing children who you fear may have met a similar demise?
We don't predetermine who the additional victims of this particular defendant are. By putting his picture out there and having this press conference as well, and hopefully using the tools that you'll be able to use to get our message out far and wide, we are seeking anyone who recognizes this particular individual as someone that victimized them to come forward to law enforcement. Whether, again, they want to come forward anonymously, come forward to any police department or sheriff station, or use the call-in numbers.
But are we looking at potential missing children cases that possibly could be linked to this, Sheriff?
We're looking at everything, and that's why if it's kind of unique for it's the district attorney's press conference, but you see us up here in partnership with LAPD, with the FBI. We're working with every agency, and that's why we're really pleading with the community that if you know anything, you've heard anything, or maybe you think somebody's missing, or loved one's missing, call us. Let us check. Let us check all the information. You have the most amazing detectives from all of our agencies that are capable, very capable, and they'll all be working on it.
I'm just trying to interpret this, Sheriff. Is it that you're confident there are additional victims, or you fear there are additional victims, or both?
I would say both at this time. There's always a fear that there's more victims, and we want to make sure that we account for everybody that's out there.
D.A. Hoffman, he was arrested on that earlier sexual assault case, but he wasn't charged. Can you speak to that, to the difficulty of it? And also, we're talking about the most vulnerable citizens, children who cannot protect themselves. Where is the system failing that this child was not protected?
So he was arrested. When he was arrested, it was actually on the February 2024 charge, because that was the first charge that was brought forward. Today, he was actually charged with the murder charge for March 28th. So again, as far as dealing with the most vulnerable victims, we agree with you. Part of the reason for this press conference is to get the message out to the victims and even their families that if they have been victimized by this particular individual, Mr. Garcia Aquino, to come forward in order to bring justice to not just the Hernandez family, but to every family that has been victimized by this individual.
But if he had been arrested on that earlier alleged offense, he wouldn't have been on the streets, and he certainly would not be working as a coach.
In order to develop the evidence for any particular offense, as we will be providing in court, it doesn't happen overnight. So even though that original offense occurred back in February of 2024, that started approximately within weeks of that particular investigation, but you have to actually go through all the different parts of an investigation before you ever get to an arrest warrant. You know, we want, in every single case, we want justice to be as speedy as possible, but we got to get it right. And we have to make sure that at the time we end up charging someone, we have the evidence to prove it. So when we filed and got the arrest warrant on the earlier case, he was actually arrested, and unfortunately, he had committed this case as well.
District Attorney, you said murder with special circumstances, so you've opened up the avenue for the death penalty to pursue that?
So yes, the death penalty is eligible. He is eligible under a murder with special circumstances charge for either life without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. We have recently instituted a new death penalty policy in which we will be evaluating whether or not the death penalty is appropriate for this particular case.
Can you talk about Oscar's death? How was he killed? We haven't heard from the coroner's office.
I think I can speak to that. We haven't heard from the coroner's office. At the point at which that information becomes public, we will certainly share it with the public, but we don't have the actual details of how he was killed at this exact moment, nor do we have all the reports that will come in when the coroner produces his or her reports.
Are you able to offer more details as to how you found the body?
Not at this time. The certain investigative techniques were used to both find the body and find the murderer of Omar Hernandez within days. Those investigative techniques and the evidence that came from them will be shared in court at the appropriate time.
The suspect and the victim, both minorities. Does that make your job more difficult because certain people can sort of exist in the shadows? Can you speak to that?
Sheriff, do you want to speak to that one?
This is specifically why I mentioned the fact that if somebody is afraid to come forward because they're afraid of what may happen to them because they may be undocumented, that needs to go away. Here, no matter what your documentation status is, we have a young man that was killed, murdered. That matters. And it should matter to everyone else out there. And that's why we're urging the public, whether we fear of it or we think there's other victims, whatever the circumstances may be, whether you speak the language or you don't, I don't care where you come from, please come forward. let us know right away. But you do ask a good question, because people are afraid, and that's why we're out here. We're embracing this and saying, please come forward. We will assist you. We will bring people forward that speak the language, the right services, so we embrace it.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Now, Maria Ramirez, we'll all excuse ourselves this way, and then Maria Ramirez, if you want to.
Do we have a court appearance, District Attorney?
I'm sorry?
Do we have a court appearance?
Tomorrow in Department 30 should be the arraignment.
Time?
Unclear
All right, so
as to
we've just
when.
been listening to LA County District Attorney along with law enforcement officials here. We saw the family there of Oscar Omar Hernandez, his sister, his mother, and father there. And again, we have heard from District Attorney Hochman that he has announced a murder charge with special circumstances against Mario Garcia Aquino, which, as you heard there, opens up the door, the avenue of life without the possibility of parole and the death penalty.
You know, you could almost feel the sadness and the determination on the part of the DA and law enforcement in the room there. They did give us a few particulars on the 43-year-old coach, Mario Garcia Aquino. They said he was the coach for the Hurricane Valley Soccer Club. No reported criminal history here, although they did talk about a charge from February of last year for a 16-year-old, some sort of sexual assault. They mentioned that charge has been filed as well. And they're asking really if there are any more potential victims out there to please come forward. They gave a number. They said it would be anonymous. The phone number is 877-710-5273. We'll put that up on our website as well, or contact any sheriff's station. So obviously they think that these two instances may not have been the first. They're asking for any other possible victims to come forward.
We, of course, will have so much more coming up on the NBC4 News at 5, but we want to switch gears here. Talk a little bit about the weather. We have Melissa McGee standing by in our First Alert Weather Center. Melissa.
Hi there, Michael and Colleen. Let's get right to that 7-day for the Basin, Inland Orange County, and the coast. Tomorrow, areas of fog for the Basin and the coast. Otherwise, we'll have temperatures in the 70s. So lots of sunshine as we get into our Tuesday afternoon. But we are tracking a big-time warming trend Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The peak of that warmth arrives on Thursday for the Basin. Lower 80s on the way for you, and the coast in the 70s. Then we'll start to cool it back down as we head into our upcoming weekend, Saturday and Sunday. The valleys tomorrow in at 80, 83 degrees for the Inland Empire. The warmth continues throughout our work week here. 88 for the valleys on Thursday and 92 degrees for the Inland Empire on Thursday. Then we'll slowly cool it down as we head into our upcoming weekend. Trough of low pressure moves on through and cools everyone back a little closer to average. 82 degrees tomorrow for the high desert. We've got numbers in the 90s as we head into our Thursday. Triple-digit heat on the way for the low desert as we head into our Thursday and Friday. 60s and 70s on the way for the mountains. That is a look at your forecast. NBC4 News continues right after the break.
That's me, driving through the country. New vacation home, newly expanded business. I know what you're thinking. This only happens in dreams. Actually, it happened for me with help from a Wells Fargo Premier team.
Ready to meet the dream team? You can with Wells Fargo.
Download the Waba Rewards app or order online at wabagrill.com. Waba Grill, it's for you.
The Jewelry Exchange, the source for lab diamonds. 1-carat lab studs $4.99, 1-carat lab bands $5.99, 1-carat solitaires $6.90. Thousands of diamonds guaranteed the lowest price. Custom mountings $3.99. Buy direct. The Jewelry Exchange, Tustin.
Hey, I'm Ty Pennington here in the beautiful Temecula Valley, teaming up with Pachanga Resort Casino to give one lucky winner an amazing brand new Meritage home. Welcome to Home Sweet Win. What's the key to winning? Play at Pachanga to earn entries. Now scan the QR code or go to pachanga.com for more details on Home Sweet Win.
Hi there, I'm Jill Martin, Today Lifestyle and Commerce contributor, back with something special from Steals and Deals. This is Last Chance Market, where I share the hottest tech for home and on the go, all with incredible deals, up to 75% off. Just scan that QR code to start shopping. Let's start with these wireless earbuds for enjoying hours of entertainment. This deal is so good, it's 75% off, only $20. Next, this slim tracking device keeps tabs on your belongings. Store in your wallet, purse, backpack, or suitcase. Track its location on your phone. It's only $25. That's 75% off. And lastly, this small but mighty air purifier is great for travel, the car, bedroom, or office. The brand says it removes 99.9% of dust, allergens, pet dander, smoke, and odors. It's 56% off. That's $31. To shop these exclusive deals, scan the QR code or go to NBCnews.com/lastchance.
That's me, driving through the country. New vacation home, newly expanded business. I know what you're thinking. This only happens in dreams. Actually, it happened for me with help from a Wells Fargo Premier team.
Ready to meet the dream team? You can with Wells Fargo.
Now at 5, the stock market taking another hit. Consumers feeling the pressure on their investments, and the world waits for the next round of tariffs to go into effect. Plus, Alex.
And with new tariffs taking effect, consumers worried about prices going up at local health food markets. I'm Alex Rozier. I'll explore the issue coming up.
You have our deepest sympathy for a loss that words cannot even begin to describe. Our role, though, is to bring justice to this family.
The DA announcing charges in the murder case of a 13-year-old boy. The news at 5 begins right now.
NBC4 News at 5 starts with breaking news.
That breaking news right now, we have an update in a teenager's death. The investigation, a soccer coach questioned about his disappearance and the death of that 13-year-old boy from the San Fernando Valley. That soccer coach has been charged with murder. Good evening, everyone. I'm Colleen Williams.
And I'm Michael Brownlee. The L.A. County DA just made that announcement within the last hour, I should say. Investigative reporter Eric Leonard joins us live from our News Operations Center with those details. Eric.
Yeah, as we first reported this afternoon, the criminal complaint filed today accuses that soccer coach of first-degree murder for allegedly killing Oscar Omar Hernandez last week. The charges also include a special circumstance allegation that the boy was murdered during the commission of another violent crime, such as a robbery or rape, although the DA did not give us much detail there. Authorities say the parents of Oscar Omar Hernandez tried calling him after he went to visit the coach. The coach answered, but they couldn't get Hernandez on the phone, and that's when they reported him missing to the police last weekend. The boy was then found in Oxnard a few days later. Now, we reported on Friday that LAPD detectives initially investigating the missing persons case questioned, then arrested the coach, but it was on an unrelated charge from a 2024 sexual assault case up in the Antelope Valley. That coach that you saw a moment ago, 43-year-old Mario Edgardo Garcia Aquino, has been in jail all weekend. The investigation into the boy's death now handed over from the LAPD to the LA County Sheriff's Department because it's believed where that murder took place up in the Antelope Valley. The DA and the Sheriff's Office said repeatedly today during this announcement they believe there are more assault victims out there who have not come forward and talked with police. They've urged them to speak up.
That if you may have been a victim, please come forward. I know it's not easy. I know it could be either embarrassing, you don't want to tell somebody, but it's very important that we bring justice. If for some reason anybody fears coming forward, even as a youth or a family, because you may be here undocumented, we're not going to ask about that. Please, you need to come forward.
So Sheriff Robert Luna there repeating that they believe, based on the evidence that's been gathered in this case so far, that there may be other assault victims out there who've encountered this soccer coach who Luna said was working as a travel team coach based in the San Fernando Valley, certainly telling us that this man that you see there on your screen had a lot of access to children. And they also said the case from 2024 that was also just brought as a separate criminal charge involved a 16-year-old boy. So clearly their effort right now is to gather more potential witnesses, more information against him. We are expecting Garcia Aquino to make an initial court appearance tomorrow on now both this murder and that assault charge. Reporting live in the News Operations Center, I'm investigative reporter Eric Leonard, NBC4 News. Back to you.
All right, Eric, thank you for that. Another turbulent day on Wall Street today as traders try to figure out when the market will bottom out in reaction to President Trump's tariffs. Trading volume also reached its highest level in at least 18 years. NBC4's Conan Nolan has the latest developments today from the newsroom. Conan.
That's right. The effort at the largest tariffs in close to a century of global trading is still causing fits, with the worry that the stock market decline is the result of what will happen not just on Wall Street, but Main Street as well.
The slow tanking of the American economy, day 3. The S&P 500 taking a 2% hit, while the Dow Jones took a 350-point loss.
So you're seeing markets just like incredibly jumpy, up and down, up and down, up and down.
Volatility over that which is unknown. Are the president's massive new tariffs the new normal, or just an extension of the art of the deal? Mr. Trump this afternoon at the White House.
You're talking about negotiations, and yet others in your administration are saying that these tariffs are actually permanent. What is the action?
Well, they can both be true. There can be permanent tariffs, and there can also be negotiations. No other president's going to do this, what I'm doing.
The president meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who's seeking relief from the 17% tariffs Mr. Trump has slapped on his country, one of America's closest allies. This while there was more saber-rattling with the nation's biggest rival and trading partner. Mr. Trump threatening China with doubling tariffs on goods coming from that country if China doesn't drop the 34% tax on American goods it imposed in response. All that is part of the expected trade war and possible recession. One of the biggest names in finance, J.P. Morgan Bank's Jamie Dimon, telling investors to expect the economy to contract under the weight of the tariffs and that a recession will drive unemployment up to 5.3%. This was pro-Trump hedge fund billionaire Bill Ackman just a few months ago.
President Trump will do nothing that interferes with the success of the country, the success of the economy.
Now Ackman predicts what he called a self-induced economic nuclear winter, destroying confidence in the country as a trading partner and a place to do business. If the president is worried, he's not showing it. While the markets cratered, Mr. Trump spent a long weekend playing golf at his Florida properties over the weekend, insisting the payoff will be worth the pain.
Tariffs will make this country very rich.
We're expecting to hear more of that on Wednesday when a set of new tariffs are expected to be announced. I'm Conan Nolan, NBC4 News.
All right, Conan, and with these new tariffs, food prices are expected to go up. The concern is especially high for people living in food deserts. Now, these are places in urban or rural areas with little to no access to affordable, healthy food because grocery stores are scarce. NBC4's Alex was there live in the city of Bell with that story.
Michael, the restaurant behind me here in Bell is one of, if not the only, health food restaurant in this city. And I talked to the owner today who's worried about what the new tariffs may mean for his small business. For the past 3 years, De Todo Natural's owner, Ernie Ortiz, has worked to bring healthy food to Bell.
Our food here is, we try to cook it the most natural way.
But in that time, prices have gone way up.
In a box of oranges in the beginning 3 years ago when we first started here, we could buy them for $12, $14. Now a box of oranges is $35.
And now, after President Trump's new tariffs, Ernie thinks prices will keep climbing. He says he's doing everything possible to keep his food healthy, high quality, and affordable.
Some business, they lower the quality to make up for the difference in the price, and we try to keep the quality high.
Kayla Delahaye is the director of the Institute for Food System Equity at USC. She said she has a few concerns about the tariffs. First, for the people in food deserts. The LA County food deserts are shaded in purple on this map. These areas are lower income and have little access to healthy food. Second, Kayla said 1 in 4 people in LA County are already food insecure, meaning they don't have enough to eat.
Food prices going up. We've seen that cause a rise in food insecurity and poor diets in LA County. And I'm worried that that will get worse and lead to more disease like diabetes, heart disease. And so when we think about who these tariffs and rising food prices might most impact, it's some of those residents in LA County who already really struggle with making ends meet.
Ernie's restaurant is just outside a food desert, and he said Trump's tariffs and the administration's mass deportation efforts have both made it difficult for his business.
This is predominantly a Latino community. They don't seem to want to come out on the streets or go out and have dinner with their families anymore. They're afraid of walking out on the streets.
But despite his concerns, he remains hopeful.
I think we should give this guy a chance.
Ernie hopes Trump's next 4 years are good for small business. And with prices likely going up, experts are not advising that you go out and buy things like fruits that are avocados, things that'll obviously go bad in a short amount of time. However, they do say you may want to buy more of things like your favorite coffee, things that will last a little bit longer before those prices go up. Reporting live, I'm Alex Rozier, NBC4 News.
And we have a special section devoted to tariffs on NBCLA.com. Click on the drop down and you'll find the latest information and reaction to these tariffs.
All right, taking you outside, this is a live look from Long Beach. Best story of the day out there. Our meteorologist Melissa McGee is here with more on how the rest of the week is shaping up. Melissa.
And Colleen, really fantastic start to our work week. We had temperatures in the 70s and 80s in a lot of locations, and we're looking at a live picture outside of downtown here on this Monday. It was a touch cooler in a lot of locations today because of that marine layer and that onshore flow. The basin right now coming in 73, and compared to this time yesterday, it's actually 2 degrees cooler for you. So you can see the contrast. We've got the 60s and 70s for the coast and the basin, but inland 82 San Bernardino, 80 in Riverside, but 69 Thousand Oaks and 71 degrees there in Anaheim. So looking at the 24-hour temperature change, you can see the difference in comparison to yesterday. Cooler at the coast, but still milder by about 4 degrees there in Victorville than where we were the same time yesterday. So we'll talk about the weather headlines and what we can expect as we get into our Tuesday. Once again, we'll start it out with that onshore right along the coast, but then plenty of sunshine as we get into tomorrow afternoon. Really comfortable. After that, however, I am tracking a warming trend for the middle of the week. The peak of the warmth Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and the warmest day looks to be on Thursday. And then once we get into the weekend, we'll start to cool it back down a little closer to average. We'll talk about those details coming up with your first alert forecast, but live from D.C. Hey, Olivia.
Oh, Melissa, I should have reached out to you when I was packing for this trip because I am cold. But yes, I am live in Washington, D.C., right outside of Nats Park. The Dodgers are currently taking on the Nationals. But what a morning it was at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I'm going to go more in depth on the ceremony, and we're going to hear what President Trump had to say about the champs.
All right, we'll see in just a bit. Plus, meet the new mayor, the first Iranian-American woman to lead Beverly Hills. We're going to introduce you to her and her vision.
And we're getting a look at the final trailer for what's believed to be the final Mission Impossible adventure. You're watching the NBC4 News at 5.
Thanks for sharing. Who's next?
I stay awake at night worrying that my security service isn't cutting it.
I couldn't help overhearing your security insecurity. Bailarm is your all-in-one security partner. Rest easy knowing everything is secure.
Now at Johnny Carino's, enjoy our 4 for $15.99 ribeye steak and fettuccine Alfredo combination. Tender slices of ribeye steak, handmade lasagna, fettuccine Alfredo, and bottomless salad for only $15.99. Plus, enjoy 15 pizzas and over 30 draft beers at Johnny Carino's.
Stop by Famous Steaks in Long Beach for our ribs and all-you-can-eat wings anniversary special for only $14.99. St. Louis-style spare ribs, endless traditional wings, choice of 2 sides and a cornbread muffin for $14.99. Only at Famous Steaks in Long Beach.
There's plenty of ways to play at Morongo. Play at the beach. Play with friends. Play at a bar under the sun. And a lazy river. Come play at SoCal's favorite Oasis Beach Pool and Lazy River. Only at Morongo. Good times.
Hurt in an accident with an 18-wheeler? 18-wheelers cause big damage. Weighing up to 80,000 pounds, their impact is absolutely devastating. And these cases are complex, involving federal laws and powerful legal teams protecting trucking companies. Who's protecting you? Just recently, Sweet James Accident Attorneys recovered $10 million for a client injured in a trucking accident. Don't let the insurance companies take you for a ride. Call Sweet James for a free consultation. We are your big truck accident attorneys.
Which automaker employs the most hourly workers in the country? Ford. Which automaker assembles the most vehicles in the country? Ford. That's not a coincidence. It's a commitment. A commitment Ford dealers share by offering employee pricing across a full lineup of Ford vehicles.
Now get employee pricing available across a full lineup of Ford trucks and SUVs. Employee pricing, you pay what we pay. only from your local Ford dealer.
I've been helping people find just the right mattress at Sit and Sleep for 31 years.
20 years. 19 wonderful years.
Come see why we've been Southern California's most trusted mattress store for 3 generations.
And maybe one day, 4.
Process to get you more for your home.
With no agent fees, no hassles, and no repairs, selling your home doesn't have to be overwhelming.
Let us help you with your home selling situation, whatever it is. Get an as-is cash offer and close on your schedule.
Check out our reviews online of real customers we've helped over the years.
Call now or visit sellersadvantage.com today.
Don't worry, sell happy with Seller's Advantage.
And I'm thrilled to welcome to the White House very special people, actually, very talented people, the 2024 World Series champion, the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Olivia wasn't kidding. It's crowded in that room. Pretty cool moment today for the World Series champs. The Dodgers are in D.C. to play the Nationals.
But before the game, the president invited them to the White House. Olivia Garvey was there, and she's here now for us. Hey, Olivia.
Yeah, guys, I walked into that room cold, but I can tell you I warmed up really quick. There were a lot of bodies, a lot of fans in the East Room. So the Dodgers put on their best suits to celebrate that 2024 World Series championship at the White House this morning. Now, we're going to get into that, but first, we did catch up with Dave Roberts in the dugout ahead of this afternoon's game, and he just went more in depth on how special it truly is to be a part of this time-honored tradition.
It was great. The president was very generous with his time, and as I'm sure you guys heard, we had an opportunity to go to the Oval Office as well, and that's just something that you only dream of, an opportunity to go to the White House.
So President Trump held the ceremony in the East Room, where it was a packed house. Trump, a clear fan of America's pastime and of what this team did in the World Series last year.
But I'm not saying I was a Yankee fan, because I love these people behind me. But down 5 runs in the top of the 5th with 2 outs and the bases loaded, the Dodgers gave us one of the grittiest half-inning World Series events, showings that anybody's ever seen.
President Trump admiring Mookie's speed and remembering his own days playing as a kid.
He's fast as hell. I don't know how the hell you can... Having that speed, isn't that a great thing? I played baseball, but I was sort of slow.
President Trump calling Clayton Kershaw the heart of the rotation.
Clayton has been unbelievable, and if you look at his records and you look at the stamina, the endurance that he's had, and we're really happy to have him. I'm glad to meet him.
Kershaw would represent the team at the White House today, focusing on how this team got here as a team.
This organization exemplifies what it means to come together as one for a greater purpose and to represent something so much bigger than themselves. The selflessness and humility that each one of these players and staff have shown over the last year is truly an inspiration.
Yeah, it was so special to see, Clayton Kershaw go up there and give a speech. He is a Dodger legend. He will go into the Hall of Fame as a Dodger, and that was a very special moment. Trump also said that he hopes to see the team back here next year, and I think I speak for all of us when I say we really hope that they get back and win the World Series in 2025. Back to you guys in studio.
We do, and they're moving in that direction right now, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I mean, tonight, they lost the series in Philly, and tonight they're looking a little sluggish. It's a little cold out. I think it's affecting them like it's affecting me. But you know what? If anyone can bounce back, it's the Los Angeles Dodgers, because that's what they do.
It's a time change. That's it.
Doesn't matter how you start, it's how you
exactly.
finish, right? All right, Olivia, good to see you. Get back here. It's sunny in Southern California. All right, we want to now turn it over to our Little Miss Sunshine, meteorologist Melissa McGee, and your first alert forecast.
Yeah, it's chilly where Olivia is. Temperatures today were only in the 40s. So those are our overnight lows.
And that's with the sunshine,
right? Exactly. We've got a lot of sun and a lot of warmth heading our way. So we'll get into those details and talk about what's going on. Colleen and Michael, as we're looking at a live picture outside from our Mount Wilson camera, lots of sunshine today. It was a great afternoon across the area. We're checking in on Burbank, coming in at 76 degrees, relative humidity in at 25%. 50%. So the atmosphere is really dry. And compared to this time yesterday, it is actually cooler by 4 degrees. We had more of a marine layer and onshore flow that did develop today. It will be with us once again tomorrow morning. But then after that, it's all about this ridge of high pressure that builds in across the region. So looking at the numbers, 60s, 70s and 80s, depending on where you are. 66 for LAX, Long Beach, and at 69, 72 for the Basin. That's average for us this time of year. 82 for San Bernardino and 81 degrees there in Victorville. Conditions will get much warmer as our work week progresses here. Satellite and radar showing you we still have plenty of sunshine across our region, mostly sunny sky across the area, but we were under the influence of this onshore flow. That will be with us once again as we head into our Tuesday. After that, it's all about this ridge of high pressure that's really going to build and lift to the north across our region. So Wednesday, Thursday, even into Friday as we head into the middle half of our work week and beyond. So 4 things to watch here. We started out once again with that morning marine layer, then some sunshine for the coast and the Basin. April warm up will be on the way Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The warmest day looks to be on Thursday. Temperatures away from the coast easily in the 80s and the lower 90s. And then we'll start to cool it back down just in time for our upcoming weekend here. So high temperatures across the area on your Tuesday, very similar to what we had today. Fog along the coast, still warm inland. 76 for Los Angeles, 82 for Van Nuys, 80 in Temecula tomorrow, 83 Victorville, and 84 degrees there in Riverside. But let's talk about what's to come. Long range futurecast showing you as we get into our Wednesday, we'll track this ridge of high pressure. It's going to build on in, so more of a summer feel across our area with temperatures in the 80s and 90s. So Wednesday, we've got this ridge of high pressure. Thursday, too, but we're also tracking this trough of low pressure off to our north. So as this ridge of high pressure breaks down as we head into Thursday night into Friday, this trough starts to sink and lower across our region, cooling us down as we head into our upcoming weekend and cool in the sense that temperatures will get a little closer to average by the time we get into our Saturday and Sunday. We're closer to normal by then. I want to show you the trend for Riverside tomorrow, 84, but then look at this as we get into Wednesday, 89 degrees. This is the peak day I'm watching on Thursday, and at 92. Still hot on Friday. Once that trough moves on in Saturday and into the weekend, we'll start to cool it back down into the 80s, then eventually the 70s into next week. So here's your forecast tomorrow for the Basin, Inland Orange County, and the coast. Areas of fog once again. It's nice by the afternoon, and at 76, 66 degrees for our coastal spots tomorrow. Then Wednesday, you'll start to really feel that warming trend, and at 80. Thursday, the warmest day, 82. But then once we get into the weekend, that trough returns, and that's going to cool us back down. 70s for the Basin and 60s for the coast. For the valleys tomorrow, and at 80, 83 degrees for the Inland Empire. Watching Thursday closely, upper 80s for the valleys, 92 for the Inland Empire. Then the 70s and 80s and low 80s on the way as we head into our weekend. For the high desert, 82 degrees tomorrow. Then you peak to 90 on Thursday. Look at this. The low desert, 100 on Thursday, 103 on Friday. Then we'll cool it back down, relatively speaking, into the 90s, and the mountains 60s and 70s on the way as we head into the rest of the week. That is a look at your First Alert forecast.
The countdown to LA 28 continues, and Temecula is hoping to be added to the list. I'm Christian Cáceres with more on why the owner of a potential venue says they're the perfect spot.
And headed towards the stars, we'll have liftoff here. Details behind SpaceX's latest launch here in California.
It's like playing a video game, but in real life. Yes! When we bring a truckload of magic to your house, that magic is yours to keep. Big open rooms without clutter, and that feeling of fresh air freedom. Call 1-800-GOT-JUNK.
We fight for the rights of riders every day. We give back millions to support the motorcycle community because we are riders, and motorcycle law is all we do. If you're injured in a motorcycle accident, don't fight the insurance companies with just any lawyer. Call 1-800-4BIKERS. We ride, we care, we win. If you go down, call Russ Brown, Motorcycle Attorneys.
Life happens. That's why Jerome's has stain-resistant fabrics like Krypton and Live Smart that were formulated to stand.